Hi, Kelly here from Board of Playing, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Spiel, the 2014 winner, Istanbul. So this game's pretty cool. I really like it. I don't think I have anything like it in my library, quite similar to it, so it's going to be a keeper. So the premise is you are in Turkey and you're running around a bazaar trying to be the first one to get 5 of these rubies. It plays 2 to 5 players. There's a little bit of variant for a 2-player game, but overall I've played it with 3, 4, and 5, and it plays well with each group of people. It has a lot of really unique action spaces. It's random each time, so each game feels very different from the last. You might think you're winning, everyone else might think you're winning, but then someone else might pull out the win at the end of the game, which is pretty exciting. So let's talk about some of the things you can do in this game. There's a lot of generic places, worker placement places that are very similar to every other game where you collect resources. You have this little wheelbarrow here that keeps track of the goods you have in it with the different types of resources there are. And on the board we have corresponding places that max out those resources. So if I were to drop my worker on one of these places, I could max out that appropriate resource on my tableau. So that's how you go around and collect resources. There are a couple really neat, unique spots that require dice rolling, and there's not a whole lot of luck in this game, but a little bit to make it fun. There's a gambling spot here that allows you to gamble. So you would pick a number between 3 and 12, of like 5, and you'd roll the die, and if you got higher than that number you'd get your $5. If you got lower than that number you would get $2. So it's a little bit of a chance, but if you want to take a pretty big chance I could have got up to $8 there. Another type of gambling spot is the black market. You automatically get one of the 3 basic resources, and then when you roll your die you get an additional blue resource, which is probably the most difficult to get. It's the jewels. So you choose resource, roll the die, and then, oh, I rolled really great. So I get 3 of those jewel resources. But you'll notice here, I rolled a really great number, but I didn't have space to actually accommodate those resources. So another thing you can do is you can upgrade your wheelbarrow. If you go to this spot here and pay $7, you can upgrade this wheelbarrow permanently, and now I have space for that. Unfortunately, I did this action first, so I couldn't get that 3 resource bonus, but if I had done the Wainwright action, I could have actually maxed that out, which would have been really cool. Some other neat resource tiles are the market tiles, where you actually sell to these markets and you get money for them. So the market's going to change. As you can see here, it changes. After somebody sells to the market, it changes and gets replaced with a new market. And depending on how many resources you sell to that market is how much money you get. So if I sold all 5 resources to that market, I could make $20 here or $25 here. So that's pretty neat. Money's really hard to get in this game other than gambling or selling to the black market. There's not a whole lot of other places to get it. You can chance it by taking 2 cards. Sometimes you might get money cards like $5, but other than that, there's very few places to get money. So it's pretty tight. Okay, so after you go through and you collect all of your resources and sell them, how do you get these rubies? You get these rubies by multiple places. So we have the ring right here, spot that we talked about. If you max out your wheelbarrow and get all spots full, you get a ruby. Okay, and these places here, I have it set up for a 4-player game. So anyone can get it in the game. So it's just, it's not like a first player gets it first. Anyone can go ahead and take that action and fill up your wheelbarrow and get your ruby. Another way to get your rubies is to actually buy them. So I could come here and pay $12 and get a ruby, but now it's expensive, more expensive for the next player, and so on and so on and so on. So you can just buy them straight up. Another spot up here is you can pay resources to get rubies. So the first person that gets these rubies would be one of each type of resource. They get their ruby, but now it's a little more expensive for the next person. They have to pay an additional resource of anything. Another way to get rubies are these mosque action spaces. If you get both bonus tiles, you get a ruby. Down here, same thing. If you get both bonus tiles, you get a ruby. Now you have to pay for these bonus tiles. So unfortunately, they get more expensive as they go. So the last person to get this tile would be paying a lot of resources for it. And it takes 2 trips to get these resources. So you'd have to drop a person here, pay for it, and then another action could be to drop another person here and pay for it and get both of those tiles, and you'd get a ruby. The great thing about this is they also give you bonuses. So like this one would give you an additional worker, which is pretty cool. Okay, so movement around this board is a little unique. It's sort of like a worker placement game meets a pickup and delivery game, which is interesting to me because I'm not a huge fan of pickup and delivery games, but I really like this one. So how you move around the board is you start off with a stack of workers and you take an action by leaving an assistant there. So in this case, I would get these resources. If I were to, on my next turn, move around the board, you get a couple movement spaces. So if I were to move to another spot, I could leave a worker and take another action. So eventually you're gonna exhaust your workers all around the board, taking multiple actions. When you've exhausted your workers and you have no one left, you can't take an action alone because you don't do any work. You leave your workers around and they do the work for you. So you need to get them back. You can get them back by a couple of ways. You can go and pick them up and reactivate the action. And when you reactivate the action, you can go and pick up another worker and reactivate the action. Or you can take a trip to the fountain. And as the action, you can pull back as many workers as you want to the fountain. So I can choose to pull back however many workers I want from the board. Now, why would you want to leave some workers around the board? Well, if you leave workers around the board, maybe even at some pretty popular spots that you see people might want to take in the future, they have to pay you to take those spots. So right now, green has 2 workers over here on the Great Mosque. If anybody wants to go and take an action at the Great Mosque, they now have to pay green 2 lira for each worker he has there. So it's going to cost $4 to green just to take that action. So that's another reason why you might want to leave workers around the board. The only way you can get around that is to go to the police station and take your family members out of jail and send them to do the work for you. Now this is kind of like a one-time thing. So you take a worker and you'd send them anywhere on the board and they can take that action for free without paying any money whatsoever to any of the other workers on the board. The only bad thing about this is now workers can go, other players can go and capture your workers, send them back to the jail, and get a bonus of cards and money for doing that. So you're giving them a benefit. So you're getting benefit, but you're also potentially giving somebody else a benefit later on. Another really neat aspect of this game is you have these extra bonus guys. You have a smuggler and a governor. And if you take an action with them on the space, so in this case, if I took this by a gym space, I could take this additional action by choice. The smuggler guy allows you to take a bonus of 1 extra good. So you can add any good, any basic good on your tile and increase it by 1. You have to pay 2 lira to do it, but it's a free way to get an extra good real quick. Once you're done taking the action, you'd roll and you'd move him to a new space. So in this case, it's 4, so he would move up to the top of the board. Another bonus action is the governor. If you land on a space with the governor and take that action, he gives you the option of getting a free bonus card. So you'd pick a bonus card from the stack, secretly determine if you want to keep it. If you want to keep it, you'd pay 2 lira to the supply and you could use it at any time you want, now or later. Another way to get cards is by taking this action. You can draw 2, pick 1 to keep, discard the other. The cards are just neat little bonuses you can do throughout the game. Like this one gives you $5. This one negates the move 1 to 2 space and actually lets you to move 3 to 4 spaces. So normally you can just move up to 2 spaces. This one allows you to move an extra couple spaces, which is actually really useful. They're one-time bonuses, but they're pretty useful throughout the game. I can see why it won the Kinderspiel. It's a really unique idea. It doesn't take a long time to play. It's like an hour. You can get a game in an hour, which is pretty good for a heavy game. 10 plus is a little generous. I think a little older crowd is better for this game because it's not light. Some of the combos are complicated and take a lot of thought. I do think that it takes a while to explain, which is probably the only thing I don't like about it. It's a little overwhelming when you're explaining to someone the first time, but once they play a couple rounds, they're like, oh yeah, okay, this is easy, it makes sense. So if you can get through that with new players, then you're golden. Well, that's Istanbul. I hope you enjoyed my review. We'll have more like this up on boardofplaying.com soon. That's good enough. Oh wait, what are you doing right now? That's perfect. Wait, you have it straight.
But if I let go, then
Oh.